Hello everyone, welcome to MeroSiksha. So I'm here with the another content, that is subject verb agreement. So what comes into your mind when you hear this? When somebody asks you about this particular thing, what is subject verb agreement? So any opinion? So now let us find out what is it. So yeah, subject verb agreement is a grammar rule. It is all about a grammar rule that says that whenever we write a sentence or whenever we create a sentence, the subject must agree with the verb that we choose. So it says a subject and a verb in a sentence must match or agree in terms of a number and a person. Why we are supposed to make the agreement between the subject and the verb in a sentence? Because unless we make this, our sentence will not sound grammatically correct. So in order to make our sentence grammatically appropriate, we should be very watchful about the subject and the verb. So what's the verb that we choose in terms of the subject that we are using? So moving on, this subject verb agreement is also known as concord, and concord, this is a Latin word which means agreement. So don't get confused when somebody asks you what is concord. Do you know the rule of concord? If somebody asks you, you are not supposed to get confused, because concord is all about the agreement as well. So the concord is a Latin word. So in English we call it agreement. So yeah, it is very important. And so why is this agreement important? Because when there is a disagreement, it might create confusion in what we are trying to say. For example, if we use singular subject, then we are supposed to use singular verb, right? But if we happen to use plural one, then our particular sentence won't be authentic. So now let us move and find out what are the rules that we are supposed to be very watchful about whenever we are dealing with the subject and verb idea. The first rule is, if the subject is singular, verb must be singular too. Singular verb, if the subject is singular, verb is supposed to be singular. If you are writing plural subject, verb is supposed to be plural. So that is singular subject equals to singular verb, plural subject is equals to plural verb. Okay, so for example, we have a subject over here, she, and we have a subject over here, they both are third person pronouns, but this one is the singular subject, right? And this one is the plural one. So for the singular, we have chosen verb that is singular, verb 5, and for the plural, we have chosen the plural verb that is base form of the verb. So this is how it works: singular subject, singular verb, plural subject, plural verb. So what are the other ideas that we should be very watchful about? So these are the words that indicates the singularity of a subject. That is, if you receive somebody, everybody, nobody, someone, so any of these, or the uncountable noun, this or that, everything, so each, one, every, as a subject in your sentence, then these are indicating the idea of singularity. You're also supposed to use singular verb. Do not get confused in this. So now here's the example, and the example says everything dash fine when done correctly. So out of these three options, you are supposed to choose one. So as we just now talked about the rule, this everything is a singular subject. So what would be the appropriate verb in order to create the proper sentence, or the correct grammatical sentence over here? So yeah, of course, here we'll be choosing is. So everything is fine when done correctly. So this one is thing. Now let's move to the another idea, that is plural. So we have, as I already mentioned before, So if we have plural verb, plural subject, we are supposed to write plural verb in order to make it grammatically sound. So plural subjects like we, you, they, direct, plural verbs like are, were, do, go as well. So here are some of the plural subjects for which we are supposed to use the plural verb. So for example, children. Here the children is referring to this is a subject and this subject is in a plural form, right? So for this we are choosing plural verb were. So this is how it works. So moving on to the next idea. So when we are using uncountable noun as a subject in our sentence, then the verb we use must be in a singular form. For example, here's the subject, the truthfulness. The truthfulness is indicating something. This is the word that is not in a plural form, but that it is in an uncountable idea, or we can say it's an abstract word, right? Because we are not able to count the truthfulness of a particular person. So here for this we are also supposed to use, as per the rule, singular form of a verb. Now which one would be the appropriate verb from these options? It's was or is or are. So of course we are supposed to choose this is. The truthful is always trustworthy. Now let us move to the another rule, that is rule number 2. And the rule number 2 talks about the connection of the subjects with and. So if when the subject of a sentence is composed of 2 or more nouns or pronouns, if you are supposed to create a sentence, and in that particular sentence you created using the subjects that are nouns or pronouns. You use either 2 subjects or 2 or more subjects, and you connect those 2 subjects using and, then you are supposed to use plural verb. So you created a sentence using subjects, either noun or a pronoun, and those subjects are connected with and, you are supposed to use plural verb. However, if when 2 or more nouns or pronouns are connected by using or nor, then we are supposed to use singular verb. So the idea is, if you connect nouns or the pronouns or subject with and, you are supposed to use plural verb, but if you connect the subjects using or nor, then you are supposed to use singular verb. Now let us move to the example itself. So here the example is here, this Ram and Sita, they are the subjects and we have connected the subjects with this and. So as we have connected it with and, we are using here plural verb, right? But here we have another sentence here, and the sentence reads, the coordinator or program head, and both the subjects are singular noun. These nouns are in singular form, right? So here now we are using singular verb. Because why we are using singular verb? Because we have connected both the nouns with or. Is that clear? Now let's move to the another idea. This idea says, so it's not always that we'll be using only the singular subjects whenever we are creating a sentence, right? So we may also compose a sentence using one singular subject and another one the plural subject as well. Let us find out what are we supposed to do in that particular case. So when a compound subject contains both a singular and a plural noun or a pronoun, so we are creating a sentence using both singular as well as the plural noun or a pronoun, and that is joined by using or nor. The verb that we choose will always agree with the part of the subject that is closest to the verb. So that is, we have created a sentence using subjects. We have used both the order, that is singular as well as plural, and we have connected that singular and plural subject with our or nor, and in that particular moment, whenever you are to choose a verb, we are supposed to choose the verb being based on the closest subject or the subject near to the verb. So this rule can also be understood as the rule of proximity. So for the sentence, for example, like if you are creating a sentence using either or neither nor, the verb should always agree with the noun or a pronoun that comes just before it. So just before, that is just closest. We talk about the verb, we choose the verb being based on the closest subject. So now here example, let us move to the example. Here either or, we have used either or, and I have used the subject over here. One is see, this one is singular, and another one is friends, this is plural. This is singular, this is plural, and we have connected these both idea using or, right? So now either see or her friends dash was, is, or responsible for the accident. Now in this case we are supposed to choose the verb being based on the closest subject. Now closest subject in this sentence is friends, and this friends is in a plural form. So we are supposed to choose which, being based on the rule, what are we supposed to choose? How are we supposed to choose? So plural is the subject, and we are supposed to choose plural verb, right? So which one would be the correct? Either it's was, is, or are. Of course, are. So either she or her friends are responsible for the accident. Now let us move to the another question. That is, we have here subject. Here see, here I have written C and I have I. Both are the singular form, and we have connected here with the nor. So now here are the verbs that are we supposed to choose, and the rest of the sentence, getting the lunch special. Now this one is singular, C is singular, I is also singular. Now being based on the nearest subject, what are we supposed to choose? Whether it's where or are or am. So of course, being based on the nearest subject, we are to choose am. Neither she nor I am getting the lunch special. Now let us move to the another idea. And the idea, another rule reads, so when you have sentences that begins with here, there, this, that, those, these, etc., always remember that these subject follows the verb. So if the sentence, because these particular, if we have a subject that begins with all these ideas, then we are to choose the verb being based on the subject, and therefore the verb has to be conjugated with reference to the subject. Verb is supposed to be made familiar or chosen being based on the subject. So if you guys are confused what conjugated means, or conjugated refers to the idea of giving a form of a verb according to the number of people it refers to. So okay, or we can say verb, we are conjugated refers to the idea of providing a form of a verb being based on the subject we have chosen, and we are to see what the subject is, whether it's in a singular form or it's in a plural form. So now let us move to the example over here. So here the sentence begins with here. We have provided with these three verbs, and then the rest of the sentence, the tomb of Albert Einstein. So here this Albert Einstein is the subject over here, and this Albert Einstein is indicating to the one particular subject. This is one person, right? So the number is 1. So this means it is referring to the singular idea. So here we are supposed to choose singular verb. So now which one is the singular verb over here? Here lie, lies, lying. So of course this one is the singular verb, lies. So this is how we are supposed to do if you receive these sorts of sentences. Okay, now let us move to the another idea. Another reads collective nouns. So collective nouns are the words that imply more than one person, but these are considered singular, and we are supposed to take singular verb. Even though collective nouns talk about implies more than one person, we are supposed to choose singular verb because it is indicating to, it is considered to be singular form. For example, like if we have words like group, team, committee, family and class in our sentence, we are supposed to choose singular verb. And here the sentence reads, a pack of lions. This a pack is referring to the group of collection of lions. So it is indicating to something, it is indicating to the group of lions, but this pack might refers to a singular entity over here. So now grammatically, if we talk about this grammatically, if we view this sentence grammatically, then it is a collective noun, right? So as I already mentioned before, along with the, if we receive collective noun as a subject, we are supposed to use singular verb. Now which one would be the appropriate one over here? Was or were or is? So here was or is, they both are singular, so we can, being based on the context, we can use the verb over here. So I'm using over here is. A pack of lions is approaching a camp. Now let us move to the another idea. So now here's the statement. You might also receive these sorts of statement that begins with the phrase a number of, and here the question reads, a number of soldiers dash injured in the war. Now being based on this particular idea, we are to choose our verb. So here in this sort of sentences, we use this plural verb. Now let us find out why are we using plural verb even though here the subject talks about a. So basically we are taught that if we receive a is indicating to something singular form, right? But here we are choosing the verb that's plural form. Now let us find out why. So now here this is the phrase a number of. A number of is a phrase, and this is what we call quantifiers as well. And this quantifiers, this because of the presence of the a, it is indicating an unspecified quantity. It is indicating to the unspecific idea. It is not talking about something specific. So here, despite we have this because of this a, we are referring to the idea that it is unspecific. But we have another word over here, number. This number, this is suggesting that suggesting the idea of singularity. But if we see this grammatically, we are not supposed to view this particular phrase dividing them into the ideas. We are supposed to see this phrase as a whole. So here, when we talk about it grammatically, a number of is treated as a plural expression. A number of is always treated as a plural expression because of this particular idea. Here, the subject remains plural, and if the subject is plural, we are to choose plural verb over here. Because of this particular idea, we use were as a verb over here. So now, why it is this? Because this a is hinting to the idea of something unspecific, even though the number over is indicating to a singular entity, and we have a soldiers over there as well, so the exact number is unspecified. So because of this particular idea, we use plural verb. So if we are to understand it in a numerical form, if you receive a number of and then the plural noun, we are supposed to use plural verb, that is were. Okay, so we have another statement, and the statement reads, the number of deceased soldiers. So here, being based on this particular idea, we are to choose the verb, appropriate verb among these three. Here we are to write our singular verb, that is. So now let us find out why are we to write our singular verb in this, the number of. So we have the phrase this, the number of, and this phrase indicates us or this phrase is taken as a singular quantifier. Even though we take it as a quantifier, we take it to be most particularly, we take it as a singular quantifier. So why we are taking it as a singular quantifier? Because of the presence of the, because here the indicates the specific amount. The is being quite specific. So here is the rule. In this sentence, the number of acts as a singular quantifier. Why it has a singular quantifier? Because it is referring to the specific count or amount of this particular deceased soldiers. And because of this particular reason, we take this the number, as it is specific, we take it as a singular form. We are not looking at these particular soldiers, we are just looking at these the number, and we take this the number which as a singular. So when number here refers to something that is able, we are able to count, we are able to count in a specific manner. Therefore, as the subject here is singular, we choose here singular verb, that is. So in order to understand it is a numerical pattern, we can understand in this way. This is the number of plural noun, which is we talks about something referring to a count or the amount because of the presence of the over here, and then we use singular verb, that is. So this is how it works. So the idea is, if you receive the number of along with the plural noun, you are supposed to use singular verb because of the presence of the over here. It is talking about the specific idea. So, but if you receive a number of and then the plural noun, you are supposed to choose the plural verb because a is indicating to something on a specific idea. So I hope I made you guys clear. So thank you.